The percent of change, a percent of change is a ratio, like we've been looking at, that compares the change in quantity to the original amount. So if the original quantity is increased, it's called a percent of increase. If the original quantity is decreased, it's a percent of decrease. So like when you guys go to the store, if you go shopping, it'll say like 30% off original price or 50% off original price. We're going to kind of find that, okay? So we're finding what percent that something is changing by, whether it's getting bigger or it's getting smaller, increasing or decreasing. So how we want to set those up, just like those other proportions, we want to have two ratios, okay? One of those ratios, since we're talking about percents for this entire page, one of those ratios is going to be x over 100. And the other half is going to be the amount of, I'm just going to write change. So the difference in your original to your new amount, whatever it is, whether it's price or population, on top of your original amount every single time. So that's how we want to set these proportions up every single time. So for this first one, this first example, last year 2,376 people attended the rodeo. This year attendance was 2,950. So we want to see what the percent of change in attendance was to the nearest whole percent. So first thing I want to find is the amount of change, okay? So I'm just going to find the difference in those two populations. So we're just going to subtract. And I don't want to deal with any negatives because we're dealing with percents. So whatever your bigger number is, in this case it was that second number, that's going to go on top. So we get 574, so that's the difference. So the population increased by 574 people. And that goes on top of the original amount. What was the original amount? The first number they gave you.
2,376.
Right. Okay. So then I'm going to go and I'm going to solve that proportion. So 574 equals, or over 2,376. And that equals x over 100. So if we do that, if we cross multiply, it'll be 57,400 divided by 2,376. But think about it like you're estimating it. Okay? So if we just estimate, since these are huge numbers and it's intimidating, think about if you just had 2,000 and you were dividing, say we'll round that 57,000 up to 60,000. Does that make sense? Does that make sense on estimating? Mm-hmm. So if that 2,000 number was just 2,000 and the 57,000 was actually 60,000, how many times would that number go into 60,000?
Oh, I know what you're saying.
About 3, right?
Yeah, but
So we'll start there though. That's at least somewhere to start. So 2,376 times 3, we'll say.
oh yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
22, 9, 10, 11, 6, 7. Okay, so that's going to be a 2 big. So then let's try 2.
Oh, that's 4,752.
Okay. So that'll work. This number can go into 5740, right?
Yep.
So I'm going to put a 2 up at the top. And subtract that number, 4752.
How did you get 2,377? Because
That's our original amount. So we're dividing by that original amount. Okay, so let's try 4. So 2,376 times 4, 24, 28, 29, 30, 30, 40, 15, 8, 9. So that'll work. So 24. And then if we go and keep on trucking, and I add that decimal, and 2,000 is only going to go into 3,000 like one time. So since we're talking about percents, I'm going to stop there because that decimal number is below 5, so I know it's not going to round my whole number up. So I'm going to stop there. So the percent of increase was 24%.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, you won't see numbers that big normally, but at least you get the gist. Okay, so example 2, Chase's grade on the first math exam was 94. His grade on the second was 86. What was the percent of change in his grade to the nearest whole percent? Okay, so the percent of change, we want the amount, because it decreased. It went from 94 to 86. So the amount of decrease on top of the original amount. So how much did it change? 94 minus 86 is 8. And that goes on top of the original test grade, which was 94.
You got 8.
Then the second half of my proportion, because 94 minus 86, the second half of my proportion is got to be x over 100 because I'm looking for a percent. I want to see how much that changes in percent. So we're going to cross multiply and divide.
That's what I did.
So I've got 800 divided by 94. So let's try 8. 32, 72, 73, 74, 75. That's pretty good.
We can do 8.
It's probably as close as we're going to get.
So
minus
because if we add 94
7.
to 52, that's going to be more than 800.
Right.
Are you doing the other way where you don't cross multiply?
Well, no, we're cross multiplying because I multiply 94 times x and 100 times 8. So that's 800. 800 equals 94x.
I thought 94 was on top.
So we're dividing. So we got 8, then 480. And I think we did this earlier. So 94, I think it was 5. That's what we started with earlier. 45, 46, 47. So I get 8.5 out of that. Since your number behind the decimal is 5, or if it was bigger than 5, that means it's rounding that whole number up.
So x would be 9.
So x is actually 9%. Okay, so let's look at these exercises down here at the bottom. Much smaller numbers, much prettier. So number 1, the original amount was 4. The new amount was 5. So did it increase or decrease?
Increase.
It increased. It went from 4 to 5. So by how much did it increase?
1.
Just 1. So I'm going to put that 1 on top because that's my change. On top of the original amount, which was 4. So change on top of original.
Yeah, it's a lot easier when they're smaller now.
And then, yeah.
It makes so much more sense.
And then the other half of that proportion is going to be my percent setup. So x over 100. And then what do we do? Cross multiply. So we've got a 100 equals 4x is technically what you end up with. But you guys are good at multiplying and dividing by now. So 100 divided by 4.
I used to think 2 times 2 was 4.
Guess what?
25. On number 2, it went from 1 to 1.3. So did it increase or decrease? Increase, just by a little bit. But how much did it increase?
4.3.
0.3. So I'm going to put that on top of my original amount, which was 1. And then set up my other half, since I'm looking for percent, x over 100. And a little trick, just to make it shorter and a little bit quicker, if you're multiplying 100 by a decimal number, you can move that decimal, if you're multiplying by 100, 2 spaces to the right, sorry.
Yeah, because then it's just do 3 times 100.
Right.
It would be 300 and then just move the decimal back.
Yep. Okay, so then if you move it like that, then you've got, I mean, it'd be 1x, so divided by 1, multiply and divide. So just 30%. Then on number 3, it went from the original 15 to the new 12. So did it increase or decrease?
Decrease.
It
By
went
3.
down by 3. And I'm going to put that over your original amount. So what was that?
12.
Original amount, 15.
15.
And then x over 100 because we're looking for percent. So we cross multiply and divide.
20.
Good.
Smart.
So 300 divided by 15 is. Then number 4, original was 30, the new was $18 doll hairs. The original was 30, the new was 18. So did that increase or decrease?
Decrease.
It decreased by how much? 30 minus 18.
You cut up too much dollars.
Too many doll hairs.
12.
12. So my change is going to go on top. And my original 30 on the bottom equals x over 100. Because I'm looking for what that percent is. What is the percent that it changed?
1200. That's 30. 30 plus 30 plus 30. 40.
Good. So 1200 divided by 30.
40. I got
40. Good. So 40%. So that's 40% off. If you went to the store and they said the original price of that sweater was $30, now it's $18, that's 40% off.
Oh my god.
Okay, we'll skip around. We'll look at number 6. So the original was 160, the new was 136. So did it increase or decrease, first of all?
Decreased by 24.
It decreased by 24. And so we want to put that number on top of the original amount,
I got 5 for number 5.
which was 160. So x over 100. So if we cross multiply and divide, so that's
400.
good. 2400 divided by 160. And I'm going to, since both of those numbers have zeros, they end in zeros, I'm going to knock those two off just to make it a little bit easier. And then 16 will go into 24 one time. Got 80. So then 16 will go into 80. Ah, too big. 5 times.
15.
Is that what you guys got?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. 15%.